something felt off. Just weeks after bidding an emotional farewell at his final concert, Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, was suddenly gone. Fans around the world are mourning, but whispers have returned about a chilling pact he once made with Sharon. Was this really just a natural death, or something more deliberate? Questions are swirling about what Ozzy may have planned, what Sharon once said, and what Kelly has been found morally and spiritually controversial. Religious groups condemned the possibility, and social media exploded with debates. Was Ozzy truly at the end of his rope, or was this the tragic result of a philosophy taken too far? It's important to note that no official statement has confirmed whether Dignitas was involved in Ozzy's death. The Osbourne family has remained tight-lipped, offering only that he passed away surrounded by love. But the timing, the past comments, and the lack of any known terminal illness all fueled the speculation. Plan. Kelly, on the other hand, was not ready to face it or admit it. The divide within the family now mirrors the divide online. Some see Ozzy's passing as a peaceful end to a hard-fought life. Others see a carefully timed, intentional exit, one that followed a years-long plan. And Kelly's resistance to that idea only deepens the mystery. What did she know? What was she trying to prevent the world from seeing? And why was she so quick to erase something her mother had already made public? As news of Ozzy Osbourne's death swept across the globe, attention quickly drew posts about how you think my parents are having a suicide pact. That was bullshit. My mom said to get attention one time, and my dad's not dying. Stop. At first it seemed like a daughter defending her parents from the usual internet noise, but then, just days later, Ozzy was gone. Now, that post has taken on an entirely different meaning, not just because it denied what happened, but because it seemed to suggest a deeper rift within the family over how to talk about the end. Kelly went on to clarify that her father's Parkinson's diagnosis had been with him for years, and while his mobility had changed dramatically, he's not trying to shut down. As tributes pour in, there's one mystery still looming. What really happened in those final weeks? And why does it feel like this ending was already written? Ozzy Osbourne's last public appearance at Villa Park in Birmingham was billed as a celebration, a long-overdue tribute to a man who had shaped rock and metal music for decades. Fans talk, launching into political commentary, or defending her family from tabloids. Sharon has always leaned into confrontation, but this time she retreated. To some, that silence was simply grief. Losing a partner of over 4 decades is a wound no words can properly express. But to others, the silence hinted at something more complex. Perhaps even guilt. Sharon had spoken so often about control, dignity, and not wanting to suffer that now her quiet absence raised more questions than answers. Was she shielding herself from backlash? Hiding from the fallout of a decision she helped make? Adding to the mystery were reports from local new meaning. When Ozzy was diagnosed with Parkinson's in 2003, the disease was manageable, but after his 2019 fall, which damaged his spine, he experienced increasing immobility, nerve pain, and physical decline. He could no longer tour, and even speaking publicly became difficult at times. Despite this, he continued to appear in interviews, podcasts, and his reality show with the same biting humor and self-awareness fans love. But to some observers, there was a quiet shift. A man who once joked about he was there, waving, giving heartfelt thanks to the crowd, and absorbing what would be his final ovation. Sharon Osbourne stood nearby, supportive as always, yet quieter than usual. The event itself was marketed as a tribute, a farewell to a career, but some fans now believe it was also a symbolic farewell to life. The timing is difficult to ignore. Just days later, rumors of Ozzy's declining health began to swell. Alzheimer's or other irreversible neurological decline. The reason was deeply personal. Sharon's father, Don Arden, had died in 2007 after suffering from Alzheimer's. That experience left a lasting mark on her. In interviews, Sharon didn't shy away from the topic. She said plainly, "If Ozzy or I ever got Alzheimer's, that's it. We'd be off." She believed in dignity. She believed in control. And most of all, she believed in preventing needless suffering, both physical and mental. Mental suffering is enough pain without physical, she once said. It was a comment meant to explain a stance, but now it echoes with haunting aftermath of Ozzy's death. One voice was noticeably absent: Sharon Osbourne's, the woman who had always been Ozzy's fiercest defender, the mastermind behind his career revival, the co-star of the family's reality empire. The outspoken talk show host disappeared from the spotlight. While a brief family statement confirmed his passing, Sharon herself made no public appearance, gave no interview, and posted no tribute. For those familiar with Sharon's brash personality, this was unusual. She has never been shy about controversy, whether clashing with co-hosts on the events from 2007 that she and Ozzy had already drawn up plans to go to the assisted suicide flat in Switzerland, were once dismissed by fans as morbid hypotheticals. But now, those same words felt prophetic. The couple had been so open about the idea, and Sharon had revisited it multiple times over the years, including during candid podcast moments. "If you've got mental and physical, see ya," she said nonchalantly. Public reaction was polarized. Supporters of end-of-life autonomy applauded the Osbournes for their honesty and dignity, but others recoiled at the idea, accusing Sharon of normalizing a concept many still gathered in the thousands, alongside music legends like Metallica and Guns N' Roses, for what was called a farewell, not a funeral. But now, in the chilling silence that followed his death just weeks later, many are wondering, was this show always meant to be something more? Ozzy, visibly frail but mentally present, took the stage one last time. He didn't perform, but he returned to a name most fans had never heard before: Dignitas. The Swiss-based organization, long known for its role in assisted dying, suddenly found itself back in the headlines as people began connecting the dots between Ozzy's final appearance, his health, and the pact he and Sharon allegedly made years ago. For many, the notion that the Prince of Darkness may have chosen his own exit wasn't just shocking, it was profoundly unsettling. Dignitas operates under one of the world's most liberal frameworks for end-of-life decision-making, allowing foreign nationals to seek assistance under strictly regulated conditions. Sharon's comment: he had lived with Parkinson's since 2003, and complications from a spinal surgery in 2019 had left him struggling with mobility. But there was no public indication that he was terminal. No final announcement, no emergency hospitalization, just the concert, and then silence. In the days following, the emotional footage from that final night spread rapidly across the internet. Observers noted how at peace Ozzy appeared, as if he had already made peace with whatever came next. There's something eerily ceremonial about it in retrospect. The gathering of friends, the celebration of legacy, the final message to fans. It felt like a retirement, but now, after all, Parkinson's, while debilitating, is not necessarily a death sentence. That left many wondering what Ozzy himself had decided and why. In the days following, Dignitas declined to comment, citing privacy. Sharon refused interviews. The silence only amplified the whispers. To fans who idolized Ozzy for his resilience, surviving drug overdoses, stage accidents, and decades of chaos, the thought of him choosing death was nearly incomprehensible. Yet for those who followed his later interviews, who saw the pain in his eyes as his body failed him, the idea felt tragically plausible. In the act dying, she scolded content creators for spreading false narratives and tried to assure fans that all was well. But now, in hindsight, the post feels like a frantic attempt to hold something together, something that may have already been unraveling. Whether Kelly knew the full extent of what was coming remains unclear. Was she truly in the dark, or was she simply trying to protect her family's privacy in a moment of growing media attention? Either way, her reaction revealed something important. Within the Osbourne family, not everyone was on the same page about what was happening. Sharon and Ozzy seemed to have accepted their death, now seemed to be measuring it more seriously. Then, in an October 2023 episode of the Osbournes podcast, the pact was mentioned again, but with a tone that felt different. Jack Osbourne casually asked his mother if the plan to go to Switzerland was still in place. "Yes," she replied, without hesitation. Ozzy didn't argue. He didn't laugh. He sat silently. Sharon then added, "If you've got mental and physical, see ya." In hindsight, that exchange may have been more than some are calling it something else. A send-off. And when paired with past comments made by the Osbourne family, it's not hard to understand why. This wasn't just a farewell tour, it was a carefully staged goodbye. And that brings us to a conversation most had forgotten. Until now. Years before Ozzy's death, the Osbourne family made headlines with a jarring revelation. They had a plan in place if one of them were ever diagnosed with a degenerative brain illness. In her 2007 memoir, Sharon Osbourne openly wrote that she and Ozzy agreed to visit Dignitas, a Swiss-based assisted dying organization, if either of them ever suffered from conditions like in Birmingham, that Ozzy's death certificate had been issued with limited detail. There was no announcement of a public memorial, no televised tribute, no official cause of death, just silence. A strange vacuum for a man who had lived so loudly. Behind the scenes, some insiders speculated that Sharon was dealing with legal advice. The ethics and legality of assisted death vary drastically depending on where it happens and how it's handled. If any part of Ozzy's passing involved international travel, private medical decisions, or coordination with organizations like Dignitas, then Sharon may have been advised to say nothing, just dark humor. It may have been the most honest answer they ever gave. After Ozzy's death on July 22, 2025, social media erupted with tributes and speculation. But 11 days before his passing, Kelly Osbourne had already gone on the defensive. In an Instagram story posted on July 11th, she lashed out at what she called disgusting AI videos and gossip blogs that were circulating rumors about her father's health and the so-called suicide pact. Her tone was aggressive, her words unfiltered. "Stop making articles